All right, so on this side of my 2-point perspective city, I'm going to show you how to do the coloring if you're choosing to do coloring. So you're gonna need some colored pencils. I'm just using plain old Crayola colored pencils, but I'm making sure they're sharp because I have a lot of small spaces, and if you have a dull pencil, it's gonna be hard to get into those small spaces. I also have an eraser just in case I need to erase anything, but that's really it. If you're wanting to use one of these blending tools on colored pencil, it will not work. So don't even try it, you're just gonna ruin this tool. Same with tissues, same with paintbrushes. They don't really do the same thing with colored pencil because colored pencil is a lot waxier, so it doesn't have the same properties as a graphite regular pencil. So what I'm gonna do is decide on where my light source is, which I've already done. I put a little sticky note. It's got the sun coming from above, and it's kind of casting its rays on everything overall. I've determined in my shading video that my shadows are mostly going to be on this side, going to the left and down. So this side is going to have a less shadowy component, but there will still be shadows because each building is a different height. So different heights cast different shadows. So what I want to go over is using different colors to shade. One thing I am not going to use, and this is one thing I want you to try not to use black for your shadows because most shadows aren't even black. So I'm going to put the black pencil aside so that I'm not tempted to use it unless something is actually black on my picture. I work with colored pencils all the time, and very rarely do I use black. So the first thing I'm going to do is decide what to color, and I think I'm going to start with maybe this building down here, and I think I'm going to make this building a nice red color. So because it is going to have the sun shining on the top of it, I'm going to use my colored pencil to start coloring very carefully over the bottom portion of the building. And to give the illusion of the light shining on the building, I'm gonna actually transition it to a lighter color. So one thing that you can do to make your colored pencils look darker without pressing harder is to add in another color. So the color I'm gonna add in is brown to make my red look darker. So I'm just using this brown over this red, and I'm not pressing hard at all. I'm just lightly coloring so that my red gets to be a darker red. It's still red, it's just got a little bit of brown in it. So if I want my color to be a lighter color, but I don't want to change the color, obviously I can do less pressure, like on this one, or what I'm about to do, I'm going to add another color to it. I'm adding an orange this time to make my building lighter. So I'm using a lighter color. It also kind of reflects what the sun would do if it was hitting it. So it's not just a plain red building. It ends up being 3 colors: red, brown, and orange. Moving on to the windows. If we look at the windows, we have to determine whether the lights are on or off. If they're off, they're going to be darker. If they're on, they might be lighter. If it's daytime, like mine is, they might even be the same color as your building. In my instance, I'm going to make my windows more of an orangey color, just so that it looks like they're kind of neutral, but you can still see them. And again, I'm just layering these colored pencils. The more you layer, the brighter the colors will get. So you can see that I'm layering more orange on top of that red, and it's making it even brighter. Now I'm going to do this side of the building, which is the side that is kind of gonna be in shadow, at least for a little bit of it. And I'm gonna make it more red overall. But again, I'm starting light. I don't want to commit to a really dark color until I know exactly what I'm doing. So always start light. If you go too dark too fast, you cannot undo it, but you can always go darker. So just make sure you're not pressing hard. I'm also trying really hard to stay in the lines just because colored pencil is harder to erase than regular pencil. And I'm going to take my brown and I'm going to go up higher on this building to show that this is the darker side of the building. So instead of having orange on this building, I'm just going to take this other red that came with my Crayola 12 set. I'm only using 12 colors total. And I'm going to lightly go over it. So far I haven't used any black, but I've made some shadows on my building. And I'm going to move on to this dumpster right here, which is actually going to be a recycling dumpster, so it will be blue, even though some of them are green. Mine's going to be blue. And so I'm going to take two different shades of blue, and I'm going to start with the lighter one. And just lightly color in that dumpster. But this side of my dumpster is going to be a darker blue because it is on the darker side of my light source. If I wanted to make it even darker, I could either add brown or I could add a purple, which is what I'm doing. Because the top of this dumpster is going to have a lid on it, I'm going to just draw some brown lines here. And again, the harder you press, the brighter the color is going to be. So you can see that so far. But let's think about something that's not a building. Maybe this dragon here. Think about what that's going to look like. So I'm going to make my dragon some greens and yellows with some other random colors in it. But when you're thinking about the colors, again, still think about the light source. So most of the shadows are going to be on this side of the dragon. I'm going to start off with my highlight color because he is blowing fire and it's close to the sun. I'm going to start coloring yellow on the parts of the dragon that I want to be the highlighted color. So just think about where that's going to be on yours. On mine, it's going to be the closest parts to the light source. Right there, maybe some on the wings. And then I'm going to use this middle green, I think it's called yellow green, to do the main body. And I'm actually going to go over most of the dragon. I do want the belly to be a different color, so I'm not going to color that, but I am going around the yellow that I just colored. So I'm not coloring that yellow. I'm going around it. Again, I'm still not pressing hard, and that is because I do not want to commit to such dark colors yet. I want to get everything laid out. so that I can then look at it, see how it looks, and then commit to the colors I'm doing. This is also beneficial for layering colors. Like if you were to press too hard, you wouldn't be able to do more than one color. You would be stuck with that one color that you started with. So now that I have all of that stuff laid out, I'm going to take a darker green and start putting in the shadows. So I have my darker green here. Anywhere that I want dark, I'm gonna actually color darker. So underneath the arm, or the opposite of the sun, on the back side of the dragon, which is also the opposite of the sun, maybe where the wing is overlapping the body. Anything that's on the back side of where the sun is hitting is where I'm gonna put a shadow. Does that mean I'm putting it everywhere? No, you do not want to put it everywhere. You want to only limit yourself to where it's going to get darker. Otherwise, your picture will look really flat. So notice how long this is taking me just to do this one dragon, but it's going to be worth it in the end when it looks 3D. So now I have almost everything shadowed up, but the shadows to me aren't dark enough. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a third color in there. I'm gonna use blue. Blue is an excellent way to make a darker shadow without using black. So notice that the shadows are getting darker, but it's not getting all muddy like a black color pencil would make it. It's staying in that green family, but it's adding a nice dark richness that's making it look more 3D. And again, not putting this blue everywhere, because if I were to put it everywhere, then my dragon would be blue. It would no longer be a green dragon. And the goal isn't to make the blue stand out as blue, it's to make the green darker. So now you can see that I have my light, my medium, and my dark, but it's not quite bright enough. If you can't really see it on the camera, that's because I pressed so light that you can't see it. So I'm gonna go over that with my middle green and press a little bit harder. Again, I'm still using really careful strokes, going in circles, trying not to make my pencil lines show, but I am committing to this green color of this dragon. I'm still not going to go over the highlights because I want those to stay bright, but I am going over the rest of my green and blue so that the color gets brighter without getting darker. And yes, it does take a while, but it's worth it. The final thing I'm going to do take my yellow and go over everything that I had yellow. I'm also overlapping into the green, but I'm not overlapping all the way. I'm just overlapping a little bit into that green. So I'm just finishing it off, making it look finished, blending my colors together. If you were using Prismacolors, which I am not, this would take a lot less time, just because those are made to blend really easily. But with regular Crayola, it still works. And obviously my dragon is not completely done, but it is finished enough. And this is how I want you to treat your whole picture, piece by piece. Don't color everything in one big stroke. You really want to pay attention to each detail because each detail matters. You also want to pay attention to your light source. If you forget about your light source, it helps to have a sticky note on your paper that shows you where it is. Or you can get another piece of paper, draw the sun on there, and keep it in that same spot on your table. All of these are options for you to make your life a little bit easier while you're coloring, because I know y'all are all new at this whole light source and shading thing. Just know if you learned anything from this video, only use black if the item is black. Like for instance, the only time I'm going to use black is right on his eyeball to make it stand out. But everywhere else it's not going to have black on it. So I hope to see your coloring. I hope you pay attention to each individual detail and your light source, and good luck.